Today's video is going to be a little shorter. Going into this idea, I knew it was going to be shorter than usual, just because I'd be going over only 6 episodes tops, but this only turned out to be even shorter than I assumed. As you may or may not recall, in the 5th episode of All-Stars 4, when both of the queens in the top 2 chose Valentina's lipstick, All-Stars rules were suspended. What a coinky dinky. This decision by the Grand Paru himself made it so that, in the Lollapalooza episode, 2 out of the 10 contestants on the show, one of them ending up being one of the winners of the season, having nothing to do, and there being a clear imbalance. Thus, today we'll be looking at All-Stars 4, had the All-Stars rules not been suspended to save Valentina from an elimination. Starting with episode 5, we have to replace the top 6 consisting of Manila Luzon, Monet Exchange, Monique Hart, Naomi Smalls, Trinity the Tuck, and Valentina. Manila and Monet are obviously in the top 2. Given that in all previous episodes there was only ever a bottom 2, this episode has a bottom 2 as well. Monique is obviously not in the bottom 2, but I can't really put her higher than safe, as to the judges her runway was the worst of the 6. Because Trinity got a full-on comment from Rue that her look was basically perfection, her look saves her from the bottom 2. But Trinity is low. Now, who gets the honor of eliminating Valentina? Manila or Monet? Well, originally, Manila's name was the first name called, so you'd think that I just give the win to Manila. Well, I can't. Every season of All-Stars since All-Stars 2 has had a double win where both queens pick the same lipstick in or around the 4th episode, so we are keeping the double win here. Episode 6 is the Lollapalooza episode. Given that after this episode there are 3 competitive episodes and then a top 4 finale, we need 7 queens for episode 7, meaning that we need 2 double shantays. We know that RuPaul has a Grandpa Willie hard-on for Valentina, and also that the judges love Latrice for reasons that have nothing to do with her performance on All-Stars 4, so I think you know how this is going to turn out. But let's go through the entire episode regardless. As Valentina is the most recently eliminated, she gets to pick her opponent first. Knowing the character of Valentina, she may be in her head and in her world, but she's a smart player. She played one of the smartest games on season 9, up until her last episode. Thus, I doubt that she'd just pick whomever, but rather that she'd pick someone who is historically, up to that point on Drag Race, the worst lip-syncer. Manila had a very memorable lip-sync on season 3 against Delta, and Valentina even saw her win 2 lip-syncs and then lose one on this season of All-Stars. So, I highly doubt that she'd pick her, even though she did eliminate her. And same goes for Monet. Monique, up to that point in her time on Drag Race, had lost 2 lip syncs and won 1, so she'd be a good pick. Naomi is a wild card, only ever being in 1 lip sync on season 8, but winning it. Trinity won 2 lip syncs and lost 2 lip syncs, so you could say that she's there in the middle. But she's also the only season 9 queen left in the competition, so I doubt Valentina would risk losing a possible ally. I believe that she would have picked to go up against Monique. Latrice is next, and as Monique eliminated her over Monet, she probably goes for Monet to enact her revenge fantasy. Gia, similarly to Valentina, probably does not want to risk it and goes for someone who, in her mind, she could probably beat. That person being Naomi. So yeah, in this scenario, we could still get their incredible lip-sync battle to Adrenaline. Farrah, having to choose between Manila and Trinity, probably goes for Manila, for the same reason Valentina did not choose Trinity. Jasmine is then left with Trinity. Trinity beats Jasmine, Manila beats Farrah, Naomi beats Gia. As I've already mentioned, we need 7 queens for episode 7. Thus, the last 2 lip-syncs need to be double shantays, so Valentina and Latrice both are back in the competition. Episode 7 is the nightclub design thing episode, and as originally Latrice got to pick her partners for the challenge as like a return gift, now both her and Valentina pick, but each pick only one. Latrice picks first and goes for Manila, obviously, whereas Valentina goes for Trinity, leaving Monet, Monique, and Naomi as a threesome. Latrice and Manila probably work really well together. Their dynamic is not as messy as it was with Trinity there, and their club kinda looks the best. Well, not kinda, definitely looks the best. Monet and Monique and Naomi are all really creative, and I don't think that Monet and Monique would be hindered by the addition of Naomi. In fact, I think her being there would help them. Firstly, she came up with the Club 96 concept, which allegedly at first was Club 96, that becomes Club 69 at midnight. I'm not sure if this is true. I read it randomly on Twitter some time ago, and it stuck with me how interesting of a concept that was. Lastly, Trinity has to do most of the work for her and Valentina, as it is Valentina that we're talking about here. And on top of that, whenever either of them had to write their own material, either to be funny or whatever, it wasn't always stellar. This is how I think the results would have gone. So Latrice and Manila are in the top 2. The threesome is the safe group, but based on the judges' critiques on their outfits, Monet is low, Monique safe, and Naomi high. Trinity and Valentina are in the bottom 2. Since episode 7 was really just Latrice's episode, she wins the top 2 lip sync against Manila. Obviously, whoever wins, Valentina is eliminated yet again. And this means that episode 8 has the same top 6 as the original season. This means that the season most certainly plays out the same way that it did originally, with Manila being eliminated in episode 8 and Latrice in episode 9. The finale is probably the same, again, with Monique being raw, with there being a double win between Monique and Trinity. However, what I found a little interesting in this version of the season is that Monet has the worst track record out of the top 4. Third worst tied with Naomi if we were to count all 3 of their team as safe in episode 7. So, still the worst. And Manila has the best track record, or PP score by the end, even including Trinity and Monique, who only surpassed her overall score in episode 9, which, as you may recall, Manila was not in. And that's it. That's the video. Sometimes I get really fun suggestions like this that make me really interested in writing out the season, but the outcome of this one really turned out to be lackluster, regardless of the fact. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching.